Hey, my name is Bhex. I apologize for the slightly terrible audio right now. I just moved and I don't have any of my acoustic treatment set up. That being said, I finally have some changes that I've made to Chopping Block that I want to share with you. Thanks to the new Minecraft update and the item model component, my custom blocks are now compatible with any other data pack that uses my custom blocks engine. But I've also made some changes to magic machines that I want to tell you about. So I have been working on a change to how conduits and energy work. Previously, it would take one glowstone to power a line that could travel for 20 blocks before you put any machines on it, and no matter how many machines you had on that line, it would use one every single time. So you could build giant, absolutely monstrous farms, and there were also ways to kind of cheat the system and make it use less energy than it actually was supposed to. I have now fixed that, so you'll notice if I take out all of these 5 stacks, I have 64 glowstone in here. If I power this, it uses up 2 glowstone, just on its own. But if I connect that and then power these, each extra machine that is powered uses 1 more glowstone. So again, I'll put down this stone, and then I will hit this button again, and we have 5, so it should take out the 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we should be left with 50 in here. Now, does this have some impact on lag? Actually, not really. So, an important part of updating Chopping Block is, of course, updating the items. And, well, I want players to be able to retain their old worlds, and in order to do that, I have to find a way for them to update all of their items in their new world. And I don't want them to run any commands, I don't want them to have to do anything to regain any of their items. So I created an updater, and what this updater does is it just automatically updates all outdated items in the world. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, I'll show you. So in my hotbar, we have 3 shulker boxes of outdated items. This one is Tempest machines. You can't tell, but it's Tempest machines. So this one, you can't really tell because all of the textures still look pretty much the same. It's mostly components that are outdated in here, but then you place it down and you open the shulker box and you just have these updated items with the brand new components. So you'll see that if I just get my selected item with the iron flower, it uses the item model tag now instead of custom model data. Now for this Tempest machines box, you'll see if I open this up, suddenly they're all Tempest machines. And if I grab one of these out, it is in fact a functional Tempest machine. Now I'm gonna run through how this works because I'm pretty proud of it. And especially this version, which is a lot cleaner and a lot tidier than the version before it. So we're mostly gonna be looking here in the updater. Within Bone MSD, there's an updater folder, and we have a few things happening here. Every time the world loads, it will run this on startup command. And what this does is it makes sure that a few critical scoreboards exist. It sets the pack version score in the updater scoreboard to 3 because this is the 3rd version of Chopping Block. This just sets the world version score for the updater if the updater does not already have a world version score, which isn't really necessary anymore, but I just keep it in for posterity. And then if the world version of the updater does not match the pack version of the updater, then we will run this check version function. So in here, if the world version and the pack version do not match and are not the same, and if the world version is 1, then we will trigger the second update, and the same will happen if the pack version is 2 and the world version is 1. This just covers any gaps in any updates that may have happened. Then if the pack version of the updater matches 3 but the world version matches 2, then we will trigger the third update, which is our current update. And so basically, if the second version of the data pack is installed, it will trigger the second update, but only if the world is still on the first version. And if the world is on the second version, but the pack is the third version, it will automatically update the world to the third version. And then if the world version and pack version do not match, then you will be given a notice saying, hey, these don't match. The updater is going to start running. If the world version and the pack version match, then you will get a notice saying you don't need to do anything else, and the updater is done running. We also have this continuous function right here, and this is one of the few constant running commands in the updater that cannot be turned off, and this just makes sure that any shulker boxes that you open with the Backpacks data pack do not break and get ruined. So every time the player walks about 5 blocks, the data pack will scan for containers around it, and this includes any Tempest machines that are loaded as well. And these are constantly running because there is no telling how large the player's world is, or when they may encounter, for instance, a container that they forgot about. So then in the trigger update pack, we just set the world version to 3, and then all players will update their inventories. And what this will do is it will just one by one grab every item from the player's inventory. It will run this update item function on it, which we will get to later. And every time the player opens a container, if the updater has not been stopped, then it will scan for the container that the player has opened. And this is just a very large function that looks at every single block that the player can reach in a 6-block radius, and if it is any sort of container, then it will run this update containers function, which does the same thing as the update inventories function, except it does it on whatever container we are in. So now the update item function is where the magic happens. This is where all the items get processed and updated. This command can actually be gotten rid of because it is non-functioning. So what this does is this removes any item from the center armor stand's head, which, as an explanation, there is an armor stand at 000 that is used as an anchor, and all that does is it's basically just an empty inventory that can be treated like a real player. So when an inventory is being updated, the data pack will update a storage with the item in a specific slot, and then if the storage of that item matches certain criteria, then we will simply insert a loot table into the center armor stand's head, and that will make sure that the most modern updated version of all of our items are being used at any point in time. Now, because a couple gaps happen from time to time, and because not every item is a custom item, then if the head slot of the armor stand has not been set with an item, then the data pack will simply set that item from the storage itself. And just in case any components get missed, because that does happen for some reason, I just run a second command that if the item on the armor stand does not have any components, then it will just grab the components from the storage and set it on that item. And this covers most gaps. And then finally, because the loot table just kind of overrides the item stack size, we have to make sure to copy that. So we just copy the count from storage into a scoreboard, and then we copy it from the scoreboard into the armor slot. And the combination of all of that is this. You get a seamless updater every time. And also you'll notice that as this update goes on and I use the item model component more and more, the spawn eggs section is getting cleared up. The reason I avoided it before was because it was easier to just make one item model instead of 2 item models and modifying with custom model data. But now I just have to make one model anyway, and then just give it another component when I'm already giving it a bunch of components. And it also makes chopping block creative compatible, which is something that it largely has not been, but now it is. Alright, so I've done some crafting changes because I've decided that a couple of the recipes in chopping block are really tedious to craft a lot of. So, for example, let's have a look at the dispenser crafting recipe. You can have all the cobblestone you want, all the redstone you want in these slots, but you can only craft one at a time because the bow is non-stackable, and that makes it really slow to craft. Now, the same was true for the sand sifter and the block breaker, where because they used a pickaxe or a shovel in their recipe, it was very tedious to craft a large amount of them. So I have decided to come up with a way to mitigate that, and I have applied this solution to all machines, so there is consistency throughout the pack, and that is the empty machine case. Now you can craft as many of these as you want, and how you use them is as a component in another crafting recipe. So for instance, the sand sifter recipe is an empty machine case next to a shovel, and this can be anywhere in the recipe slot as well. So you can put these anywhere and you will craft your block breaker or your sand sifter. And once this next update for chopping block comes out, I will feature all of the new recipes in the changelog guide video. But I quite like this change because now when you craft, for instance, a stone or iron machine that is more powerful, it feels like you are actually upgrading the empty case with what is around it. Also, the rainbow enchantment glint is not a chopping block thing, this is just vanilla tweaks. And the empty machine case cannot be placed in survival mode. It's not a block, it is just an item. And I think this solves the crafting of chopping block pretty nicely and makes things a little more convenient to craft in bulk. So you know how earlier in the video I mentioned how I could use the item model component for my custom items, and that way the spawn eggs in the creative menu would still have their vanilla textures? I realized a problem with that, and it's a pretty important problem to solve. Any recipe that uses my custom items shows spawn eggs instead of the custom item, which is not okay. So I have to revert that change, which sucks. It's been a few days. It's very late at night right now. So I have finished the updater. So here's a quick little demo. I'm gonna place down all of these. Here's what's in all of them. It's a bunch of outdated models. There's copper tools, there's fletching, there's small beginnings. This one is Tempest machines, and if I open them, you'll see that they all update. And then in here we have all of the blocks from a whole new world of color. So we're just gonna set those down and open those, and you'll see that they all get retained. That was a lot of work. It was a big major pain, but I got it. So you may have noticed it as I was scrolling through the inventory here, and I went over more pies, but I have added cherries into the game that drop from cherry trees. So I did my best to make these edible, but for some reason they're just like not. I don't know how well you can hear, but I'm just clicking. I have also added cherry pies to the game. These don't have that problem of being inedible. You can eat these. Here's another one for you. Here's another big update that I like. So I'm gonna go and craft myself a set of copper armor, and if we go to our survival inventory, oh, what's this? We were already wearing chainmail armor. So let's just put on this copper armor. Yeah, I was already doing a bunch of overhauls and updates anyway, so I figured, hey, I might as well just go ahead and add copper as its own armor set. Just like copper tools, it has a custom durability but is otherwise equal to iron, and that means that chainmail armor is actually still available in the game. So mobs can spawn with chainmail armor, and if you've already crafted copper armor, then it will automatically upgrade to this new upgraded version here. And as you can see, I'm replacing absolutely no vanilla armor with this. Awesome. And so with all that effort put into updating the pack, I can now say that Chopping Block is updated to the latest version of Minecraft. What's that? 1.20.4 is out? No! So, after spending a really long time updating the updater again for the new version of Minecraft, it's done, and once again, I can start adding new content. That was such a pain. And I don't normally ask this, but it has been a lot of work to update this data pack to the two newest versions of Minecraft. And while it is definitely not necessary, it would be greatly appreciated if you could donate to my Ko-fi page if you enjoy playing Chopping Block or if you enjoy my videos. Creating content for this pack, and even just updating it for new versions of Minecraft, takes hours, days, weeks, and even months of my time. So if you would be so kind and you can spare the couple dollars, I would greatly appreciate a donation to my Ko-fi page. Okay, that is all. Back to the video. This is my 5th time trying to record this segment. So I've added a new item to the game. It's a lucky potion. It's kind of like a lucky block, but it's a potion. You drink it and something random happens. And these events can be pretty drastic, so I've created a temporary platform away from the main platform over there. So let's try this a few times. Ah, I love the charged creeper. Ah, that one was good. We got a random enchanted book. That time we got a chocolate pickaxe. It's a wooden pickaxe that you can eat. Ah, that one just, oh, that one's not a good one. So anyway, with that demonstrated, I think we can have a look at how this potion works. So this is the roll function. This is the function that runs every time you drink a lucky potion. As you can see, there are different kind of luck groups. You got miraculous, lucky, neutral, unlucky, and disastrous. And all these extra roll lines are just so that if a number is picked that doesn't have an event assigned to it yet, then it will just re-roll the event. And the event selector is reset at the end of it so that 2 events don't occur if there's some like weird recursion that happens. And some of these events are suggestions from people in my Discord server. For instance, the set block primed TNT. Now, one of the items you can get from the lucky potion is the grass block? Well, if you pick a regular grass block out of the inventory, they're not the same color. Something's slightly off. So, when you place this down, it's a grass block, and then you break it, and it turns into another random block from a list of blocks. Now, I'm not gonna reveal every block that it can turn into just yet, and I'm also not going to reveal exactly every mechanic of how it works, just so that none of the surprises and fun are spoiled for you in this pack. You know, the Minecraft community has been really complaining at Mojang lately about how long they take to update the game, but I'd actually like it if they took a little more time this time to update the game, because as soon as I was done updating my data pack for the new version of the game, a newer version of the game comes out. I love the new features, but like, if you guys keep pushing Mojang to update the game this fast, you're never gonna get any more mod-sized data packs. Anyway, that's all I have time for in this episode. Thank you so much for tuning back into Chopping Block. Stay tuned for this next season and this next update, because it's gonna be, if I do say so myself, pretty cool. Alright, I'm out. Bye.